Alright guys, let's review Basket Case 2, which I just bought on Amazon because they had, for $12, they had the Synapse Blu-ray, which of course I was like, I gotta get it, because I really enjoyed the first Basket Case. The first Basket Case I think is really entertaining, and I really enjoyed everything about the first one. And Frankenlauter also did Brain Damage, which I liked. I haven't seen Frankenhooker, and I haven't seen that other movie he did. I forgot what it's called, but he did another movie. And I really have liked the films that he did so far. And going into Basket Case 2, I was like, this will be interesting. I'm curious to where they're going to go. And watching this movie, it's interesting because Frank Hiddenlotter directs this again, and he directs all three of the Basket Case movies, which is cool continuity. I like that he's directing all three, so it's his own like vision, it's his own thing. And watching this one, because like I said at the end of the first one, I'm like, where do they go from here? Because Belial and Dwayne both fall off a balcony to their deaths, and like it looks like they're dead at the end of the first movie. So where do you go from there? And this was made in 1990, which is so weird because the last movie was so 80s sleaze that this movie is very, especially by the Blu-ray transfer, it's very polished and very not film stocky. It's very good looking of a movie, and I was surprised the visual distinction between the first Basket Case and Basket Case 2. It's a very interesting visual distinction because again, the first one is supposed to be a sleazy cult movie, and this one is a cult movie too. Of course it is, but it looks so different, and I'm not using that as a negative. I just think that it looks so different to the overall from the first one to this one. Because again, 1982 the first one, 1990 this one, and it's so funny to look at the actor who played Dwayne, who was this really skinny looking guy in the first movie, and now in this one he looks way more adult, even though the movie's supposed to take place like right after the first one, and it's 8 years later, so this guy obviously grew and looks different than he does 8 years ago. I thought that was pretty hilarious. And I like too that the effects in this are really upped. Really like the practical effects are really upped, and I really appreciate that. In the first Basket Case, I liked it, but I kind of joked about how Belial in the first movie, like it was a stop motion thing moving around for the most part, or you're just like somebody's holding like a dummy of him and like flailing him around in the first movie. In this one, the practical effects are really great on Belial. He is awesome, and his effects are not the same as the first one. I like how it's a good upgrade. It really works, and I really like that a lot. And the plot of this, I haven't really said yet because the plot is the thing that I think is the most interesting of the movie. And the movie I like a little less than the first one because of the plot. I don't dislike the plot, but I think that the plot in this is really different because, and I guess it's a good thing, different for a sequel. I like that. I appreciate that. But it's still a weird premise where Dwayne and Belial survive after falling off the balcony in the first one, and now they are taken by this woman named Ruth, who I believe she says in the movie is like she's out her family or like connected to the family, and her and her young daughter that Dwayne kind of has, like they kind of form a relationship together, and they both take Dwayne and Belial to this kind of off the charts house that like they have like an attic where all these other deformed people are, but they're not like Belial. They're like deformed, like human size, with like big disfigurements, like teeth that are like this far out of your face, or like somebody who's got like half a moon head, like half of his head is gone. Like it's really interesting. The effects on it are really cool too, with all these different makeup effects of all these different creatures. Like I think that they're really good, and I really like all of the visual effects. This movie did really have an up to budget. You can definitely tell. And I appreciate that for the better. Like that makes, even though the first movie is great on its own, being such a low budget sleazy movie, this one works in being a more polished movie, but with really good effects that I think hold up more than the first one, but the first one has more charm, if that makes sense. This one, it's weird. The thing that I don't dislike, but I'm kind of like it's kind of weird is that this movie is not as much as Belial or Dwayne anymore. It's about all these other creatures that like are deformed. And I mean, I guess that makes sense with like Belial trying to find his place because he didn't have any other people like that in the first movie, and Dwayne trying to break apart from Belial, figuratively and literally. I like that. I think that's cool. I think that's a cool story progression for Dwayne and Belial. I think that's awesome. And of course, Dwayne having another crush on another girl, and he wants to leave and be done with Belial because Belial's found his calling. So I like that. I think that's cool. But also, while this is going on, they've got this nosy journalist who's following them because she knows that it's him from the last movie, like that survived this balcony fall. So I think that the story I like less than the first one, and the first one had less of a story, if that makes sense. The first one is just kid comes in with this Yogi Bear basket in a motel, and it's Belial, and he starts killing off people. That's the plot of the first one. And in this one, the Belial and Dwayne go to this off the charts house and find all these other people like Belial. So it's more of a story in this one, but honestly, I felt like that made me like it a little less than the first one. Like I didn't like it's cool seeing the effects of all these different creatures that they have in the movie, but I feel like it sacrifices that much time with Belial in it, if that makes sense, even though it's about Belial finding his calling. I think it's weird. It doesn't make the movie it makes the movie a lesser movie in terms of entertainment for me than the first one, but I still like it. I still like this is a different sequel with different ideas, and I like that it tries to be something more than just a regular sequel. Like it adds in all these new creatures, it adds in this new story, it adds a story because the first movie doesn't really have much of a story. Like I said, it's just Belial going around and killing people. Like it's not really that. In this movie, Belial doesn't really kill many people, so it's not really about that. It's just about these freaky creatures, which I didn't like the plot as much. But again, there's more of a plot in this, but I didn't like it as much as the first movie, which had less of a plot, if that makes sense. But again, practical effects are really good. I like these creature designs. I like the new effects on Belial. I like how polished this movie looks. I like all that, but the ideas of being less about Belial in this movie, I think, are not make the movie not as interesting of a watch for me. Even though I still like this movie, I still thought that this movie was solid enough, and I will watch it again. But if I had to pick one, it would be the first one, and I think that it's a movie that is not going to be one that I will want to rewatch as much as the first one. But I think that it's still a solid sequel with good ideas, good practical effects, good acting, good looking movie. So I think it works in those ways, but it's just not a movie that I'm going to rewatch as much as the first one. But I think it's still solid. I enjoyed Basket Case 2 for the most part. Hey guys, if you like this video, consider checking out my other content. I review a majority of films that are pretty recent and also older films and mostly horror as well. Horror is my favorite genre, so I expect a lot of horror. And check out all my links down below. I have a link to Patreon. I have a link to Instagram, link to Twitter, link to my Facebook group, Horror Enthusiast 101, and to my own personal Facebook page, CDR Movie Reviews. And thank you for anybody who watched this video. Thanks for watching.